Hi, Kai here with Kai's Kreations again. So today, what I thought I'd bring you is I have a customer client that wants some Mickey Mouse and Minnie things for their kitchen, and so I've been coming up with some different ideas and doing some different things for them. I'm not a big Disney girl or Minnie girl myself, so this was a challenge for me. I did do these recently. They're little like spice cups and stuff. They had the hard top or the sprinkle top. I chose the hard top, and then I got some figurines and I just glued them down inside there. So now what she can do is she can either just put these in her kitchen for decoration, or she can actually fill them with spices, and as the spices get emptied, you'll see Mickey and Minnie appear more. So I think that's a really cute idea. Another idea I'm probably going to do for them is I'm going to take these, I have little Mickey and Minnie buttons. I'm going to cut the bottoms off of those, the buttonhole part, and then glue them to the ends of some, measuring spoons, so that they can have Minnie and Mickey measuring spoons. So, but one of the first ideas I came up with was this idea. My roommate came to me and said she had this huge, big metal bucket that had popcorn in it for Christmas. And she said, I washed it out, of course. She said, do you want this for anything before I throw it away? And I said, yeah, you know what? I'll use that for something. So I put it away. And then when this customer asked me for this, I thought, you know what? They could put flour or sugar or anything in there. They could store a whole baking kit in there if they wanted to. It's pretty big. So I'll find a way to make it Mickey and Minnie for them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have some Mickey and Minnie material I got for 98 cents at Walmart. So I'm going to go ahead and take that lid off. And I already kind of started this, but then I decided to do the DIY. By the way, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing, and that way you will get notified every time I upload a new video. I am doing mostly craft videos and DIYs right now. I'm trying to grow my channel. I'm new to this. I don't do any editing. Don't have any fancy software or anything for stuff like that. So what you will see is, just the real hard, unedited videos, and I will try to do them as best I can for you. But like I said, I am new to this, and I am growing and learning. I have a Facebook and Etsy page where I sell my stuff if you're interested. It's Kai's Kreations, Kreations with a K. I will put the link below in the description. I also have a crafters group on Facebook if you're interested in joining, if you're a fellow crafter. And, of course, my YouTube channel where I will be putting YouTube DIY videos more. And the crafters group on Facebook is Crafting with Kai's Kreations. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into this. I would recommend you get one of the big bottles of Mod Podge from Walmart for this, because it's going to take a lot of Mod Podge, but I don't have one right now, and I have these little bottles from the Dollar Tree, so I'm just going to use those. I am using the matte one because I don't really particularly care or want it to have an extra shine or anything. So I have poured some of that into, let's see, get some more in there. Poured some of that into a paint thing. Don't worry about the black. That's dried on the side. I don't clean my things often enough. And I'm going to go ahead and start on the edge where, let's see if you can see, it has a seam. So I'm going to start on the raised edge of that seam. That's where my material will start. So I'm going to go ahead and just paint a good coat all over here. Extra on the seam, of course. You want to be really generous with this Mod Podge so this will stick and dry really nicely. Okay, let's see. And if you're worried about drying, it doesn't dry too fast, but if you're worrying about that, you can start your material and then paint as you go. I want to get at least most of this covered and then work with my material and get it on there right and stuff. Okay, and I'm not worrying about those silver edges at the top and bottom because I'm going to be adding some stuff to those anyway, so you'll see later that won't matter if a little extra Mod Podge goes above and below where the material is actually going to go. Okay, let's see here. And I just used, you can use one of those foam brushes if you want. I don't really like those for some reason from Mod Podge. So I just found the next biggest size I had, which isn't too big, but you know, big enough to do this fairly quickly. Like I said, I'm being really generous with the Mod Podge and just slapping that on there. I get a generous amount and then just kind of work my way down the tin so I can get it on there really fast. And then if it's a little bit less on the bottom, I'll go back in and put some more in there. And I'm working on a mat, a placemat I got from Dollar Tree. I use those to do my projects on so it doesn't mess up my table when I'm doing big messy projects per se. Okay, let me see. I think that should be good enough because I'm going to run out of material and have to use another piece anyway. I have pre-cut these. And again, like they say, measure 2 or 3 times, cut once, because you don't want to end up with a too small piece. So I'm going to go ahead and just line this up really carefully with that seam. Okay, let's see, it's actually, okay, it's acting like it's a little high, a little too low. Okay, there we go. Now line that up as perfect as possible with that seam. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and press that first part down. And then I'm just going to go around really slowly, guys, because this material also did have some wrinkles in it. And I couldn't find the iron today. So, yeah. I'm just going to try to smooth out those wrinkles as I go, so those don't show. So I'm just kind of rubbing it on as I go, very slowly. I don't know if you can see, but I'm just doing this real slow. And if it's, you know, oh, there's a spot where it's going too low or too high, I adjust that and smooth out the wrinkles. I'm just going to keep doing that. Okay, like that. There's a lot of wrinkles on this. And part of it's actually going under the bottom here. I'm not going to worry about that because, like I said, I can trim that off later. So, not too worried about that. I am going to make sure it's up high enough on most places. Okay, like that. And like that. This is actually a little bit easier than I thought it would be, and it's coming out pretty nice so far. So I think I'm going to be really happy with this idea. Like I said, I'm just smoothing, so those wrinkles in the material come out, and it's a nice, smooth, flat surface. Okay, let's see. Almost to the end, and yeah. So I stopped my Mod Podge about 2 inches too short, but I was really close, guys. That was really good. Okay, so we're just going to put a little bit more on there so we can finish that off. Okay. Alright. Let's see. Get that up there. Smooth. Okay. Perfect. Now, I did cut an extra material because, look, see, it ran out. It was short. So I did cut an extra piece, long lengthwise, but I need to know how long I need it for to overlap. And I'm going to do it just to overlap a little bit on the left and a little bit on the right, so there's no chance of seeing that tin underneath. So I'm guesstimating about right there. So I'm going to set that aside for a minute. I'm going to lay this down, and I'm going to use this guy I got at the Dollar Tree, this measuring square or whatever it's called, and I'm just going to lay that, let's see if I can show you. I'm going to lay it flat down on here. Let's see here. Lay it flat down on one edge that I know is a straight edge up here, so that way I know and where I measured, so it's straight. And I'm going to go ahead and for this use a permanent marker. And I'm going to go a little bit out just in case I measured too small. Again, like I said, I really should have measured this a couple times, but I do have extra material a little bit if this comes out wrong. But hopefully that'll be good. And just did a line with the permanent marker. Bring this back up before I cut it. Double check. And yes, that will be the perfect amount. Okay, good. It's going to overlap on each side just a little bit. So, I'm going to go ahead and cut this now. Like I said, measure 2 or 3 times before you actually cut. That's a really good rule. Because I have measured, literally I've measured twice before, and cut it wrong. Cut it too short. Too long is not too much of a problem because then you can just adjust it down. But if you cut too short, and if that's all the material or supplies you have, then you're kind of stuck. Okay, so I'm going to put Mod Podge on the empty space, but I'm also going to put it a little bit overlapping on the left and right side because I am putting the material a little bit overlapping on the left and right side. So, and I'm going to put a really generous amount again, especially on that overlapping part. And it doesn't matter if I go a little bit more on top of the material than I need to, because I'm actually going to go over the whole thing with Mod Podge on the top layer of this material anyway. So, therefore, it doesn't really matter, because that's going to get a coat of Mod Podge anyway. Is anyone else ever tempted to say Mod Podge wrong? I'm always tempted to say Mod Podge. I don't know why. And I've got myself before. Just like I say decoupage, like decompage. And my roommate or one of my friends will correct me. What are you saying? You're not saying that right. Leave me a comment below if you've ever said called a crafting thing by the wrong name. You know, like maybe the dovetails on ribbons. You've called that the wrong name because you forgot the real name. Or said Mod Podge wrong. Or something funny like that. Leave me a comment below and let me know I'm not the only one that does silly stuff like that sometimes. That'd be nice to know. Okay, so again, I'm going to hold this up. Make sure it's where I want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and start this up here. And this one, since it's little, I'm going to kind of start it at the top and then smooth my way down like this. And you do want to hold it at the top a little bit because otherwise you'll pull it down as you're smearing it down. This one was cut more sufficiently, obviously. Okay, so that is perfectly on there and smooth. Alright, I'm going to go around and check the rest of it. See if there's any wrinkles. Looks like no. Looks like it's pretty good, guys. Okay, so then I'm going to turn this over and trim that bottom part a little bit. There was just a couple spots that went over a little bit. You know what, I'm going to do my little scissors for these. Sometimes you just need a little scissor to get in there. Get the details. Okay, come on. Okay, I think that's good. And let's see, there's a little spot over here. And of course, there is the option. There's one little string that won't go away. Of course, there's the option to decorate the bottom. But you obviously don't have to because the bottom is not going to be seen. So I'll show you in a second here. Okay. Okay, let's see. Clean that up a little bit. Let's see here. Harder time with these edges than I thought I would, but it's okay. We're gonna Mod Podge over that and it's gonna be fine. I just cut them a little bit too big, which, like I said, too big is better than too small any day of the week. Okay, so see, the bottom has that label on it from the popcorn. So if I wanted to, I could either cover this with another piece of material, or I could take the label off. I probably later will take the label off and end up putting Handmade by Kreations on the bottom, my little logo, my little label. But like I said, no one's going to see that, so you don't really need to. And looks like I've gotten a little tiny bit of Mod Podge on the inside with my fingers. So I'm just going to take this before it fully dries, take a little wipey, and wipe down the inside because we don't want the inside looking yucky. Okay, so you can just do that while you work to make sure there's no Mod Podge that dries and stays in there. Because, yeah, we do touch the inside while we're working sometimes, and then we get those little Mod Podge fingerprints. And we don't want Mod Podge inside because we don't know what kind of cooking or food items they might be keeping in here. We don't want that. Okay, so that looks good. Wash that off. Let me just go with a dry one. Clean the inside a little bit. There we go. Okay. Alright, that looks good. Okay. Get the Mod Podge off. Okay, now I'm going to load up on the Mod Podge again so we can go over the outer layer of this. Excuse the Mod Podge noises. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to be pretty generous with this because I want this to dry and seal really nicely so they can even take a wet rag and dust it or wipe it off in their kitchen if they need to. So this will be nicely sealed and look pretty and protected. Okay, so again, I'm starting where I put that new piece of material on, the second one, the little shorter one, and I'm just going to go around and just, like I said, use a generous amount of Mod Podge so it soaks into the material and protects it. And get all those seams, make sure everything's laying down flat. Okay, let's see, how are we doing on time? Try to make these videos not too long. I made one DIY, it was like an hour long. I was like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to want to watch that. But then I watched another DIY that I was really into, and it was like over an hour long, and I was like, oh, well, okay, I guess if it's a craft you're really interested in and you really do want to do, maybe you would be willing to watch it for an hour. But for the most part, most of my DIY videos, I am trying to keep as short as possible, and I do some, like, oops, I dipped my bracelet in the Mod Podge. I do some, like, pre-cutting and pre-measuring and things like that so that they go a little faster. And if you have any questions in you know, these videos, like say I've pre-done something, pre-cut it or pre-done something to it to make the video go faster, if you have a question like, hey, how did you do that, or what did you use to measure it, or, you know, any kind of question at all, please feel free to leave me a comment. Nobody's commenting on these videos yet, so you know what? I will get back to every single person that comments right now. I would greatly enjoy your interaction with me. So, like I said, if you have any kind of question or comment, please leave it in the comments below, and I will reply to you as soon as possible. Probably right away. Because other than crafting and working at Dollar Tree, I have no life. No, not really, but no, I don't do a lot of stuff. I pretty much work and craft all the time. One or the other. Alright, gets more. This is where I said I should have stocked up on the big bottle from Walmart, but I didn't. So I may have to go into this other bottle. So I'm gonna open this real quick. I got a new one over here. There it goes. Okay. That way we have a nice new one to work with. Okay, and I'm dripping Mod Podge all over my desk, but I don't care. I'll work that out later. I'm trying not to be too sloppy, but also be quick about it. You know, and just there's a fine line between fast enough but not too fast, I guess. Opening the new bottle now. Lovely little squirting noises. Also, if you ever watch some of my DIY videos and you think, well, that's okay, but I'd like to, I have a way to do that better, or I have a variation I'd like to add, please leave those in the comments as well. I'd love to hear from you in different ways that you've done things. Or if there's a DIY project I have not done and you're like, hey, I want to see you do this, leave that in the comment below. I will probably do it. Most especially if it's on Dollar Tree products, because I use a lot of stuff from Dollar Tree for my crafts, as you'll see in my videos. So definitely, this stuff was from Walmart, but it was cheap. Like, these materials were 98 cents each. The tin was obviously free from my roommate, so it's a good time too. Like, if you have leftover tins and things like that from Christmas or holidays, you can just reuse. Okay, I think I've gotten a pretty good coat, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and go around and just make sure I have a really good coat on there. And if I see any place that looks like it didn't get much Mod Podge, and around the top edges too, I'm going to make sure that gets a good layer right around the edge. Not inside, but around the edge. And the bottom edge as well. Make sure those get really coated with Mod Podge. Okay. Okay. And it does have that fitted lid too for the top, so you don't want to be too thick on your layer around the top edge, because then, the lid might not fit. And that would be a bummer. So, okay. I think we're almost done with this part. Alright, like I said, I'm just going over, checking for any spots I might have missed, and getting that top and bottom edge with lots of Mod Podge and lots of smooths out. Make sure it's really even. Okay, and then it gets hard because you gotta touch it. You gotta try to not touch the edges that you're trying to secure. Okay. And you want the Mod Podge to be kind of smooth too, no lumpy or spotted parts, because then that'll show later when it dries and not look so great. Okay, I think we're done with that part. So again, I'm going to take a wipey, and I'm going to kind of wipe some of the Mod Podge off my fingers first. Put that over there. You got to kind of clean up as you go. I kind of just rub them, if that makes any sense, see? And get that Mod Podge off, and I throw it in my trash. Got a little trash over here. And then just rub off all the glue you can, and then I have wipies everywhere in my room. I just use a little bit of this wipey. It doesn't need to be perfect, because I'm going to be doing Mod Podge again in a minute, but I want it to be, where I'm not leaving excess dried Mod Podge on the next part or whatever. And then again, I'm going to look inside here and see if I got any fingerprints and try to go around and get that off, because I don't want globs or smears of Mod Podge on the inside of this thing. That's not where we want Mod Podge. Okay, looks pretty good. I've gone around the edges. There was a couple spots on the inside. I take a dry tissue and run around the edge like that too. Okay, come on, no. I think that's good enough for now. We can always clean up later. So, I'm going to take this very carefully, set it on my floor over here to dry, and we're going to work on the lid now. Oh, and again, I got Mod Podge all over my, let's see, all over my desk. So I'm going to take that wipey, or I have craft rags sometimes I use, real quick, and just clean that up a little bit. Like I said, these dollar store placemats are really great because you can literally like go wash them in the sink if you need to and scrub them clean and scrape stuff off of them. And then, you know, even if it gets ruined, it was only $1. And you saved your desk from being ruined. So, like right now, I'm wiping off all the Mod Podge. I can feel there's leftover Mod Podge and bumpiness on it. I will go and deal with that later today and scrub this clean. But right now, I just want to get as much excess off as possible. Clean up little spots and things I've left laying around my desk for a minute. Okay, so that's good enough for that. Now, oh, my light came on. I guess I should have had that on the whole time, huh? Probably like crafting in the dark. Oh, you guys, I told you I'm new to this. So on the top, the bottom I did Mickey, so the top I'm going to do Minnie. So I pre-cut this circle. What I did, it was really kind of difficult, you guys, but first I traced the circle with the lid and cut that out. Obviously that was too big because I wanted this on the inner circle in here. So then I took a piece of paper and kind of very carefully used this like embossing tool from Dollar Tree, one of these with the ball on the top, and just kind of etched into the paper where that circle was, cut out the circle, and then I traced it onto the fabric and cut that out. So, is it a perfect circle? No. Is it perfectly fitting the thing? Not really, but pretty darn close, you guys. So, we're going to put that on there. So now, I'm going to go add some more Mod Podge, and then we're going to do the lid. Excuse my Mod Podge noises today. Okay, well, we all need some comic relief anyway, right? Ignore the farting Mod Podge. Okay. And again, I'm going to put a generous amount on this. I'm going to go over the edges a little bit, because later I'm going to do some twine on those edges. So, which I may or may not do on the video, depending on how long we're getting here. Alright. Like that. Okay. Alright. Then, I'm going to take this circle, just carefully lay it down. Try to find the edge of one side of the circle, and then smooth out the wrinkles. Again, this material had some wrinkles in it, and I couldn't find my iron. So, we're just gonna make do. Okay, so there's one big fold right here I'm trying to smooth out. It's not really cooperating too well, but we're trying. Let's see here. There's another big wrinkle there. Okay, that's why the generous amount of Mod Podge, you guys. It helps stick the material down so that those rough folded edges or whatever smooth down. Alright, so that looks pretty darn good. Look at that. Don't worry about the Mod Podge around the edges again, because it will dry and it'll be fine, and I'm going to use some twine in there later to go over that anyways. So now I'm going to go over the top of this material with the Mod Podge. Again, being really generous and being careful not to move it and just smoothing it down. Start on one side, work my way to the other side. I'm bummed I didn't have one of the big Mod Podge balls, but you know what? I'm so grateful that I had these little ones from Dollar Tree, and it's going to be enough for my project with some left over, so that's great. Okay, let's see here. I think that is pretty darn good. And all those wrinkles smoothed out, and you know what? I can't see edges around the circle that aren't covered by this material, so I'm really happy. That was actually a pretty good circle cut. So, looks like that right now because it's not dry yet. Then I had this idea to put these on the top again, just trying to get ideas because I'm not a Mickey or Minnie person. But I got these. These are left over from another project I got from the Dollar Tree. I think they come 3 or 4 to a pack, depending on the size. And I'm trying to see what I want to go with. I don't know if I want to do the dark one or the white one. Let me see. I'm going to play with these for a minute. But my idea was something like this, to glue on 2 little ones I've seen people do and make the Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse shaped head. So I'm looking at the dark. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And then this one would match the twine, but maybe we don't want it to be super matchy-matchy. I don't know. And that's kind of light. And then the white is just weird altogether. So, I'm looking at this one. Let me see. I think I'm going to end up doing the dark to offset the twine, but not match perfectly. Let me see. Let me look at this one again. Okay, I do like that. And then, let's see. Look at the dark one. Guys, I just don't know. I think I'm going to do the dark one. Yeah, I think I'm going to do the dark one. Okay, so now that I've decided that, put the rest of those away. Okay, so first I'm going to decide where I want my ears to go and where they have a good place to be glued. So there's a good place, and there's a good place. Okay, so that means this is going to be the bottom. So I'm going to take my glue gun, it's been heating up over here, and right in the center, let's see if you guys can see this, right in the center of this lid, I am going to put a generous amount of glue. Just like that. About a quarter size there. And I'm going to take where my finger was, showing me that's the bottom I want. Put it right on there. And I'm just going to hold it in place for a few seconds till that glue dries. Actually, you know, I take it back because sometimes my hand shakes. So since it's staying there, I'm just going to push down lightly and then leave it and let it dry like that. And as soon as that dries, we'll put the ears on. And then we'll put the whole thing aside to dry. And I think what I may, let's see, yeah, I may do off camera, and I'll leave a link to a picture below. I'm going to take some twine. Let me see. Hold on. And take some of this twine from the Dollar Tree. It's a real thin one. Might even take a rope, but I think I'm just going to do twine and go around the inside edge of the circle, the outside edge of the lid, wrapping it around, and then the bottom edge of the whole tin are going to have twine wrapped around, and I may even do a little twine bow at some point. You can do it where, let's see, you wrap it, you know, let's see, hold on, I'm not doing this right. Trying to show you. Okay, you wrap it around your 4 fingers like this. If I can do it. Very uncoordinated today, apparently. But, let's see.